Hello everyone. Let's see how we can customize the default Asobo Jetways to work for our project. Now keep in mind this is a very long video. I'm gonna have a timeline under the description of the video, so if I repeat myself, please forgive me, but I don't have time to edit the entire video. First, we're gonna go to the SDK. So whatever you have the SDK installed, let's go select everything and delete. I have a plugin here so you can see what I'm clicking here. Alright, so I'm gonna go File, Import, GLTF, and then we're gonna go to the SDK samples, def mode, sim objects, landmarks, Jetways, package sourcer, sim objects, landmarks, my company model. Okay, let's bring the first one, LOD00. So I'm gonna import that. Now let's go ahead and go to the same folder. Just open a browser. We go to samples, def mode, sim objects, landmarks, Jetways, package sources. So let me bring you a different folder here. So this is the project that I will save this Jetways and work on the Jetways. So I already have a sim object with landmarks and the Jetways. These are the Jetways that I did work for it. If you don't, then just copy the sim object from the SDK folder, copy the entire folder. If you do have, like me, a sim object, you don't have to. We can go all the way to landmarks, inside landmarks folder, and just copy the my company Jetways, and that's what I'm gonna do. Copy and just paste it to my scenery. Okay, minimize that. Now here, my company Jetways, right? We're gonna rename this. Now the way I do it is, you can see here we are inside my project, Detroit project, inside the sim object landmarks, and I have KDTW Jetways. I just name everything in there like that. You see, even my Blender file in there, it's the same name, and all this, the bin, the GLTF, the XML, everything will be the same. And yes, I do keep the Blender file in the same folder just to keep them organized. So I do actually, even Asobo recommends to use the ICAO of the airport you work for. So I'm gonna put XXXX, right? That's your ICAO, underline, and then Jetway. Right. So that's gonna be my folder. Then we're gonna go inside. We have a model. Let's go to the model. So here, what we're gonna do, we already imported the model, so I'm gonna delete all these LODs. I'm gonna leave the Jetway. Actually, you know what? Let's do something else. Anyway, we have to, in the end, we'll have to modify this jet. You know what? Let's go ahead and open it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the bottom part. Let's go from the bottom up. We're gonna leave the bottom part here, but then we're gonna delete this part here all the way to here. We are gonna leave the animation there. Let's delete this part. Okay, so now we have just the LOD. Actually, we can delete this. We're not gonna use this XML anyway. So this is the only two parts that we're gonna leave: the animation and then the behavior. Right? Let's clear. We're gonna create a new one. Actually, you can download if you already, maybe you already did, the one that okay, so that's what we're gonna leave right now. Save. Okay, let's close this. I'm gonna move this on the side. Alright, so here model CFG, we're gonna go open that. Sorry, I'm gonna bring this one back, and this one we're gonna call it the same way. I know my XML file is gonna be xxxx underscore line Jetway. Right. Okay. Let's see what else. I'm gonna go back. Sunday stays the same. This is, we have the textures, the default textures, and then seams. So now we are inside Jetways. You should have a sim.sfg. Let's open that one, and we're gonna name that part right here the same xxxx Jetway. Okay. All right. Gonna close these two guys, and that's it. So now going back to Blender, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open these guys right here. And I'm gonna click on this three-way shape icon. Those are just empties. Oops. So I'm gonna expand all this. Okay, that's done. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit A to select everything. I'm gonna click right click, parent, clear parent. Okay, let's go Control Z. Let me see if I do that. Okay, let me see if I can just do apply all transforms first to everything. And now right click parent, clear parent. There you go. Much better. So we don't have to position everything. So we have, okay, oh, I don't have the textures here. Okay, the textures are not there. So the only thing moves here was that part, which is totally fine. Okay, so now I'm gonna select both of this and say set origin to geometry and just move them here, whatever in place. You don't have to do this anyway, just move them there. Okay, so on the right side, the only thing that we're gonna leave here, let's see, it's these bones, right? We're gonna let's say maybe we can go apply rotation and scale. Now see, for the bones you have to go to pose mode, select all, and then pose, apply, pose and reset pose. Okay, object. So now it still doesn't give me that. Alright, we can move it like that. So the only thing that we're gonna leave here is just this, the bones. Okay, so we're gonna click on, we'll control all these guys. So I'm holding, let's say, shift. So let's select the bottom ones. Let's go delete. I'm gonna select all these guys right here. Delete. And the contact. So everything that had that three-way shape we delete except pivot. Okay, so I'm gonna hide the pivot now for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring the textures now, so we have the textures to our object here. Right, let's go to the textures here. Actually, you know what, before we assign the texture, let's save first, because it's gonna be much easier to get to the texture folder. So we can just click all. You know what, before we save, let's name this collection. So even the collection, I name it the same, so xxxx underscore line Jetway, and then underscore line LOD all caps 00. So that's going to be our first collection. Now let's select all, right click, move to collection, or hit M on the keyboard, and I'm going to select that collection. So now everything is under that collection. That pivots, the armature, the bones over there, don't worry about it for now. You can stay outside. Alright, so now let's go ahead and save this project, the Blender file. So control save. Is it gonna ask me where I want to do it? So I'm gonna go to that folder, if I find it. Sorry, I had to rename this landmarks inside. So I went to the package sources of my project, sim objects, landmarks, the folder that we just create, and then inside the model, I'm gonna call the Blender file the same way, xxxx underscore line Jetway, and enter. Okay, so now we have the project saved, the Blender project saved. Now if I go to the texture, I'm gonna go down, Microsoft Material, Standard, let's go down, base color, open. Now I can just go back and I see the texture folder. Okay, so first, not good glass, I'm gonna take the boarding ramp albedo. If I go to the textures, there you go. Now you can get the roughness, or you can assign whatever textures you want. Let's compose, and then the normal texture, and normal will be that one. Okay, let's select the, what's the door entrance, what you call that. Again, standard up open texture. I think for this they're using the I think they're using the glass version. Let's see. Yeah, I know it's weird, but the other one doesn't look good. So glass component and normals. for glass. Where is glass normal? Okay. And then this one, the hood. Let's go to texture. This one actually they're using texture as the ramp 2 texture. So even if you want to use the textures, the glass texture, you can do it. You know, it's just I don't know why they did that. I guess they did it for us not to be able to use them. Okay, normal. Alright, so we got the textures here really quick. Alright, let's go select the all, control, save, and that's it. Alright. Now everything should be aligned here according to them. So what we're gonna do first. So first, we're gonna hide this guy right here. Right, we need to add some empties. So I click on a number pad 1, so make sure I'm on the front view. Also the cursor, make sure is Shift S1. If you want to do a shortcut, make sure the cursor it's at the world origin. So oops, we're gonna add an empty. You can use whatever you want here. So I think they use this, yep, the arrows. Right, you don't have to use that, you know what I mean. I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna use this guy, the plain accents. Let's go to visibility, display, not in front, name. Okay, so this one we're gonna call it SOL. Oops, SOL, all capital. Then one thing I forgot, let's bring the Jetway back here. So I'm gonna click on this part right here, and let's go right click, set origin to geometry. Oh, that's not gonna work. So okay, I'm gonna go to edit mode, and actually I'm gonna select a couple of these faces here, and I hope, let's see, select similar area. Okay, I was hoping that I did this correct. Okay, so that gives me the middle of this rotunda, and what I want to do, let's go Shift S2. Actually, yes, Shift S2. Like this. If I go to items, it's gonna tell me. So if I go from edit mode back to object mode and say set origin to the 3D cursor, now it gives me a clue how high is this is the Jetways. So you need that number. Now I can see it's 5.764 here, right? So I'm gonna write that numbers because we need it. 5.764. So whatever your number is, right? I mean, it should be the same if you're using the default Jetways. Number should be the same, but that if you're using your own Jetways, this is something that you have to calculate. Okay. All right, let's close this. I'm gonna hide the Jetways again. So now I'm gonna bring the cursor back to origin, Shift S1. Okay, and we're gonna, it's either duplicate this one, Shift duplicate, empty, and then we're gonna call it rotation base. Let's call it rotation base. Oops. Rotation base. Okay, and we're gonna move that one in Z to 5.764. Enter. All right. So now we have the rotation base there. Next, we're gonna duplicate this one, shift duplicate, and I'm gonna move it to the right. So this one, I'm gonna call it empty pitch. I'm gonna shift duplicate this one, move to the right. Now this one we're gonna call it empty 01. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but then when we do the XML, you have to remember what you call these guys. So empty 1, we're gonna go shift duplicate empty 1, move it to the right. I'm gonna call this one empty 02. Just go like that. So before we go forward, you have to we have to know, let me bring the Jetways here. So we have to know what's how many pieces we have. I'm gonna move them. Hold on, let me bring everything. I'm gonna move them. Just make them apart here. We got this part. Anyway, this things. Set origin to geometry. Okay, so that's that. Then we have the wheels with this, the arms. Move that one there. Whatever, we'll position later. Then we have this tunnel. Right, then we have this tunnel. And I ran out of space. Let's select it. Okay, hold on. I think it did select everything, right? Yep. Okay. So then we have that tunnel. And then we have this tunnel. Oh boy. And then the base, right? So it all depends how many tunnels, right? Tunnels or bridges, whatever you want to call it. Now in this case, all these empties, right? The empty pitch will basically be one bridge like this that will control the pitch up and down. Then every else, empty 01, empty 02, right? Those will be empty 01, we're going to connect it to one bridge. Empty 02, we're going to connect it to the second bridge. Now if you have a third bridge, then you will need to create another empty and obviously call it empty 03. And then the third bridge you connected there, which we have here kind of like a bridge, but this is the end part. So I really don't want to have a different. I mean, you can create another empty, but just to keep it simple, once we you do this once, then you're gonna know exactly how to do it. So what I will do, I will probably just join these two guys together. So like this, it gives me pitch, one bridge, second bridge, which is going to be all this together. And then you have the entrance part. So I hope it makes sense. I'm not going to do it now. I'll see how, things are. Maybe just connect them, something like that. Also this part right here, I don't know why they did this. They did this so long here. I can just, let's say, highlight this. Maybe just go to the edges, have the X-ray one, highlight this and move everything. Okay. Or delete. I mean, this is a little bit too, I don't know why they did it like that. Anyway, this is something that you have to play around, and this is the time where basically you're gonna do that. You know what, let's just join this anyway now. Control J. So now I have one bridge here, and then that will be the first bridge. I'll probably gonna make it a little bit bigger, and that's our pitch. And honestly, this part right here, I really don't. What I will do is make it shorter. Okay, let's select faces here. I know it's gonna delete that face. I'm just trying to see like how to make this one. Maybe uncheck. Oops. Uncheck. So maybe go back here. I mean, I don't want to delete that face and this face and that face and this one, and maybe this one either. Let's see what else. I'm gonna check those, uncheck actually those. Okay, there's one more here. Let's see on top. Okay, those. Right, something like that. And then I can just say delete faces. So now it gives me this. Go to edges, action mode, one, select everything, and now I can just, oh, why is not selecting me? Okay, I deleted a face anyway. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, we're not deleting that one. Oh, there's one more here. Oops. Oh, there's one more here too. So yeah, just make sure you don't delete those faces if you want to make this one smaller. Look, I missed this one too, and there's that one too. Okay, so let's see now. Delete faces. Okay, looks much better now. X-ray. Okay, edges, and then I can move it. This still an edge there. Okay, a face that probably I deleted. Yep, that one right there. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you to this one, then we're gonna move forward, like how I will do. Okay, delete faces. Okay, let's go to edges, X-ray, select everything. There you go. Maybe make it this small. That was too long. So whatever you wanna do now, whatever you wanna design, the way you wanna design the Jetways, this is the time that you should do it. To modify all these guys. Okay. Once you're done with everything, so I got, this is the pitch. I'll probably make this one a little bit longer. There's two ways to do it, but I think that's gonna be too long. I'll do it this way because it's faster. I can just shift duplicate this guy and just make it like that. Or you just select, again, you select the faces, but that's gonna take too long, so I don't want to stay too long on designing the Jetways. Okay, it's not gonna look perfect, but that's what I'm gonna do. So Control J, and just connect those two. So now I have a little bit longer Jetway, or bridge, not Jetway. Okay, so those are the pieces. So now I just want to point out, for those who wants to do glass or needs to do glass Jetways. Now I know this piece is gonna stay there. You will need something like that because this is the pitch. So I'm just gonna give you an example. So this piece goes over, and then actually it's gonna move like this, right? This is where the Jetway moves up and down from here, from the bottom. I mean from the back. So you want that piece, so you don't end up with a gap, right? It's not gonna move a lot, you know what I mean? But it's just not to have a gap. Now what you can do, you can either make this one a little bit shorter, but you need a little bit of it, and you can select it, and then also the pitch, and just assign an invisible textures to them. Let's say if these two are glass, right, and you need only two, this will show up, right? You can see through the glass this, but just assign invisible textures to them, and that's it. They're going to be there, and you have your glass Jetways. All right, let's go, because I deviate. So we're going to go back to the empties now. So we're going to continue with the empties. Empty 2, so we have empty 1, empty 2, pitch, and base. Okay, so I'm going to go back to empty 2. I'm going to say shift duplicate, move to the right. Now this one we're going to call it pivot. Okay, so it gave me pivot 001 because I already have this one here. So the bones, let's call that one bones. Okay, let's hide it. And now we can go back to our pivots here and call it our empty pivot. Alright, so one more. We're gonna shift duplicate pivot, move it to the right, and this one we're gonna call it contact. Okay. Alright. Now here's what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna go backwards now and select. So we're gonna select contact, hold shift, pivot. I'm gonna say Control P, object. Now when I say Control P, meaning I'm holding control. or Shift S2, I'm holding Shift S and I press number 2. So just to be clear. Okay, so now we're gonna select pivot, Shift MT2, Control P, object. So we're gonna parent everything else but backwards. MT2 to MT1, Control P, object. MT1 with empty pitch, Control P, object. Empty pitch with rotation base, Control P, object, and then rotation base with SOL, Control P, object. Now if I click on SOL and I'll move it, this is how you test. Rotate in Z, all of them should move. So now I know they are connected. Okay, so I can either click hit escape. Make sure they are aligned to the X axle. Right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and save now. Control save. Alright, so now I'm gonna bring the Jetways here. So let me see if I can select all this. Just move them a little bit to the right. I'm gonna basically bring piece by piece. Okay, so this is a static object. These two are static, they're not moving. So we don't have to do anything with this. Empty pitch, it's gonna be this guy right here. So here's the trick on this one. We need to set the cursor to this edge here. So I'm gonna go to tab mode, to edit mode, hit tab. In this case I can go to the faces and just let's uncheck this X-ray, and then I can just select this outside faces. You don't have to select all of them, but just this one to make sure it gives you in the middle the cursor there. So we're gonna say Shift S2, bring the cursor to the object here. We're gonna go to tab. I'm gonna go back to the object mode, right click on this and set origin to 3D cursor. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, I have my object selected, boarding ram metal big 1, 0 will be that one, right? So boarding ram metal 1, we're gonna hold shift and then select the empty pitch. Now we're gonna say Control P as an object, and also I'm gonna click on a empty pitch, bring the cursor there, Shift S2, and select the boarding ram metal big 1 and then Shift S8, and it's gonna bring the object to the empty pitch. So now whatever we need to move, okay, I see what's going on here. I don't think it parents them. Yes, it did parent them, but let's bring this as well. And we're gonna bring that to, let's drag it here and then just put it into our project. See the rotation. Okay, let's go Z. let's, I should have do that before. You already see the boarding part there. Let's just bring the, I'm gonna just highlight all these empties and bring them there. So now you see the boarding ramp metal peak right here. Okay, that's what we want. Should have moved this one before to our collection. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing for the rest of this, guys. Let's go closer, edit mode. Let me select the faces here. Control S2, bring the cursor there, tab, let's go to object mode, right click, set origin to cursor. Okay, now that object is selected, we're gonna go and click on the empty 01. Either you do it here or you do it here, but on this screen you have to hold control if you do it here. Alright, so we're gonna say control P object, then we're gonna select the object, shift S8. Oh no, sorry, empty, let's select empty 1, shift S2, bring the cursor there. Now the object, shift S8. So we're gonna bring the object to the empty. So I was gonna say, now whatever you wanna move this, guys, the bridges, you will click on the empties and you move them by the empties. Okay. So the empty one, sorry, empty pitch, it's that guy right there. So once I move that one, it moves everything. Empty one, it moves that bridge. Okay, so now we're gonna click on that guy, and here let's go to object mode, hit tab. Right, so now here let's see what we can select to make it even. Okay, let's go to 1. Okay, yeah, we can select these edges here. Just make sure they are, yeah, they are aligned. You want to make sure the cursor is gonna be by the edge and in the middle. Okay, let's make sure. No, make sure you select correct, and I think it's in the middle. Right, I think that's good. Shift S2. Oops. Shift S2. Let's go tab. Right click, set origin to 3D cursor, and now I'm gonna click on empty 2, shift S2, bring the cursor there, then right click on this, on the object, shift S8, and bring the object within a parent them. So I got the object plus, so hold shift, select empty 2, control P object. There you go. So now if I click on empty 2, it moves the bridge as well. Okay. The pivot and contact, we don't have to attach anything to them for now. So now we're gonna align the jetways the way you want to spawn, right? When you go in, the positions that you want. But I'm gonna bring the let me see. Okay, so I wrote down under the video, you see the IKChain. But let's go ahead and copy that. Whenever it says IKChain under the video, you see that text. Let's copy that from there. Copy. And let's go to, we don't have an XML file, right? We didn't save, we didn't create an XML file. So let's see, package sources, sim objects, landmarks, XXX, Jetways, models. We do have an XML file, but that's the Asobo one. So how about we do this? I know the Jetway doesn't look good, but it doesn't matter. Let's select everything. I'm gonna go on the right side here, and let's go to the exporter settings. Okay, we're gonna say /forward texture /forward copyright. These are Asobo, so I'm not gonna enter, but if you want, you can enter your copyright. Let's say custom property puncture light. I do include that all the time. Apply modifier if there's, maybe not on this one, but I always like to do that. Group by collection. I'm gonna go back there. I'm gonna set generate XML. I'm gonna click on that. Click on this folder. This is where I want to save my project. Now it is important for us to save to generate an XML from here. We cannot use the Asobo one because this will generate a unique GUID for this project, and you need that, otherwise it's not gonna work. So okay, let's export it the way it is. Now what I do, I'm gonna untick the generate XML, and then just click Control save the project. Now the reason I did that is because now we're gonna add all these IKChains, IK constraint and behaviors and animation, and if I leave that one on, it's gonna override this. It's gonna delete everything I put in, so I don't want that. Okay, once I generate the XML, it doesn't have to generate it again. Okay, so going back to the folder model, now we have XXX Jetway XML. I kept that one there. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna open the XML. That's our XML, right? The one that I just did. Now I'm gonna go ahead and open the one from Asobo too. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna copy this animation from the Asobo and the behavior. Let's copy everything here now. Okay, copy, then I'm gonna paste it to our XML project. Okay, that's our LOD, the Jetway GUID animation. Do not change this animation, and you can play around with the settings here, but make sure everything is copied correctly. Now we're gonna go to, I closed that one. Alright, never mind. So the text you want to open, so the IK constraints, right? You copy that from the description of this video. Okay, copy that, and we're gonna go to our XML, and just under the animation, in between behavior and animation, that's where we're gonna paste the IKConstrains. Okay, it should look like this. You got the behaviors on the bottom, IKConstrains in the middle, animation on the top. Okay, let's save this one. Alright, so let me see how I can show you this and the project. Okay, maybe something like that. So what happened here, I'm just gonna give you a brief idea. I was afraid of that. So we have the rotation base, right, which will be this one. A rotation base is gonna read it. Where is the position of rotation base? And it's gonna go through all these empties, and it said you're gonna read it from there all the way to pivot, right? That's the end. Right, this is the translation speed, the rotation, so everything, the rotation left and right, the movement of the entire jetway is done from here, from the back, left and right, and then the pitch will be up and down. Okay, so then the secondary handle, that was the main handle. The secondary will be from the pivot to the contact, right? So we have that. Then we're gonna go, don't worry about this one, we're gonna add a slider top and ground lamp is gonna be in next. So that will control where the ground is and how high to go up and down, how much to go. Now rotation base, again we have the heading, right? That's is gonna control empty pitch. Now these numbers right here, this will control how much your bridges is gonna expand or retract, right? This is where we're gonna set these numbers on how much is gonna expand your bridges, right? Like let's say this bridge right here, the first one, it's gonna expand, but I don't want the bridge to expand to be a gap between them, so I'm gonna have to set in there how much is gonna expand. So let's say it's gonna expand up to here, and then empty one is gonna take over and I'm gonna start expanding the rest of them, right, to whatever point I set in there. And then the same thing, it's gonna retract to a point where we're gonna set. Once it reaches that point, then empty 2 is gonna start moving in until we set that. So those are the things that we IKConstrains, we're gonna set these numbers here, and actually we're gonna send them next because we want to make sure we have this correct, right? So I just want to explain to you what we're doing here. Now I'm gonna take this empty pitch and let's position to, let's say, somewhere around there, right? Like I said, you don't have to do this, I'm just gonna give you an example. This is gonna control the pitch, so it's gonna go up and down like this. Right, so I mean this point, it's, you see where the Jetways is very low, but okay, let's go Control Z, make sure it's back. So once I get this position here of the empty pitch, I'm gonna bring this guy and go to items. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna select again the object, right? And then again we're gonna select, I'm gonna do it from here, from the right side, so I'm gonna hit Control and select the empty page. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say Control P again, but without inverse. So now it kind of gives me the position, like the 0 position. So that's where, I don't know if this is necessary because nothing changed here. Or maybe it is. So the empty page, we're gonna leave it there. That's, I'm just thinking to see. Do we set this? No, we can't set this. Okay. Okay, so let's see. I'm just checking right now. You see the object, everything is 0. And I think that's what we do need to do that. So I'm going to select the second boarding ramp, hold Control and select empty pitch 1, and then Control P without inverse. So that will bring the object to the 0, right? So if I click on an empty pitch, no, I'm doing this wrong. What we're gonna do, we actually, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna select the empty pitch, and then hold, I'm gonna do it on the right side, Control, hold Control and select empty pitch and rotate base, and I'm gonna say Control P without inverse. What this gonna do is gonna bring the empty pitch to the 0 value. Right, so I selected, I unchecked both of them, so I select the empty pitch. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna move the empty pitch to its position, whatever you want to be, right? So I'm gonna leave it right there. I want to give him a little bit of gap here so he can go up and down so it doesn't touch the bottom or the up part, right? So now let's say if we can round out the numbers, 2.5, let's say 2.5, right? Okay, so that's good for me. Now if I go to the XML file, my empty pitch is going to be minus 12.6 to plus 9.3, which is fine. Actually, we don't have to do anything. Let me make sure. Yeah, for the empty pitch, it's going to just control the bank. It's not going to extend or retract. Okay, so we don't have to do any. You still have to do the 0 to make sure it's in position, because that's how you tell the Jetways where is the 0 point. Okay, so we're gonna move that to 2.5 there. Okay, now we're gonna do the same things with the empty one, and then I'm gonna hold empty pitch, Control P, object without inverse. Now it's gonna bring the empty one to the 0 position. Okay, so here's where I can leave this one to go all the way to 0. If you want to, you can leave it like that, or you can move it, let's say 1 meter to the right, or whatever you prefer. If you prefer your jetways to come all the way to 0, then you leave this to 0. Let's say you don't like this gap here, you want to be a little bit closer or whatever you design, then you have to go back to the empty pitch, move it in position, and then empty one, empty pitch, and again you bring it to, you bring it to the 0. Now let's say, so I'm back to empty one, right? I want the jetway when it retracts and then it reaches this point to stop, or here, or 1 meter to the right or left, or whatever you prefer. This is where you set the numbers now, right? Let's see, if I want to put 0.5, right, it's gonna stop right there. So this is based on your preferences or whatever you want to set. I will leave mine, I think, to 0. It's just okay. So alright, so that's the 0, right, for me. That's where it's gonna stop for me. Now you can, like I said, 1, 0.5, 0.2, whatever numbers you want. Now let's go ahead and extend this one, and let's see how much am I gonna extend this one. Okay, so maybe I'll go up to here, 5.22. let's say 5.2. okay, it didn't take it. 5.2. oh, because I did hit 0. Okay, let's say 5.25. okay, I think it's much better, right? So when the jetways, when this empty one expands and reaches 5 meters, 5.25 meters, is gonna stop. And this is where I'm gonna bring the XML file and say, okay, empty one, right, we're empty one, it's gonna go all the way to 0.00, and then it's gonna expand maximum 525. okay, that's my empty one. Once it reaches 525, that's it, it's not gonna move, and then backwards is gonna go to 0. Now I do recommend you to leave it on 0, but again, just in case somebody parks a little bit in, you want to have a margin of error to go backwards too, because otherwise they're gonna tell you like, well, the jetways are not working. Yeah, because you parked too in, and now the jetway doesn't have room to back in, right? So I mean, see how it is, see how you play, but even if you set this to 0, and then you want to be positioning pitch a little bit to the front, it's fine. It's fine. Here we're just calculating. This will give us the idea to what numbers to put in the XML file. So basically we're doing this mostly for the extension, not to go over 525. It goes over 525, and then you'll see a gap, you know what I mean? So that's basically what we're doing here. Backwards, obviously backwards, not to go all the way here, then it's gonna look awkward. So anyway, so we're gonna move this one to position 0, right? a position that I want. Now, am I gonna keep it here? I don't know, we'll see. But for now, we'll just keep it there because we have to do the empty2. So click on empty2 and then control empty1, control P without inverse. Now it brought my empty2 where my empty1 is. Okay, that's something off here. You see where my empty2 with a tunnel connected. I forgot to bring it. I think I forgot to bring it there. Okay, let's see. Let's do this again. Control S2. I'm gonna bring the cursor there. That's my cursor. Object mode, right click, 3D cursor. It is set. Let's see, empty2, control shift S2. Now let's bring this one, shift S8. There you go. Now I'm gonna, well, they're already parented, so I don't have to do anything. Alright, now let's try this again. So I'm gonna select empty2, empty1, control P without inverse. Now it's much better. Okay, so now that's the 0 position, right? And that's okay. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm happy what I see. Now let's see how much I can expand this. Well, first, okay, let's see how much I can expand this. So this is gonna be expanding, let's say up to here. .2, let's say 5.2. I mean, I can go a little bit more, but I don't want to be right by the edge, so I want to leave a little bit. 520, let's say 525 maybe. Yeah, 525. Right, empty. Oh, hold on. I click on the wrong one. Sorry. We're looking for empty2. There you go. Now we're talking. 7 point. I was like, really? The same? 7. Let's say 8. 8.0. Yeah. 8 meters. Okay. So let's bring the XML file empty2. It's gonna go all the way to 0 if it needs to, and then it's gonna expand to 8. I believe these numbers, no, they don't have to. I was gonna say 3 numbers, but no, they don't. So there you go. empty2 is gonna retract all the way to 0 if it needs to, and then it's gonna expand all the way to 8. Okay, let's save that. Alright, so that's how my Jetway it's gonna look when it's spawned if I don't want to set it different. Now here, if you want, let's say you want your Jetway actually to be spawning there, then you can do that. You can leave it there and you're fine. Alright, but in my case I'm gonna leave it like that. And maybe empty2. Let's go back a little bit. Maybe spawned right there. See, I'm not gonna bring it all the way to 0, but if it needs to back up, it's gonna have 2 meters to go back, just in case. Alright, so let's see, let's put this one 2.5. Alright, so that's where my jetway, that's how it's gonna, my jetway is gonna spawn. Alright, now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna have to bring this guys in. Okay, so next thing, you want to position the wheels whatever you want to position the wheels. Right, so let's say mine, it's gonna be somewhere around there. Okay, let's move this guys on the side, we don't need them yet. Okay, let's go ahead and save, control save, just to have so far. So let's see, now you position your arms or whatever this brackets or how you call them, the sliding part, right? I think I'm okay with this. So I want the tires. Okay, maybe. So here, you know, we have these arms here around the bridge, and then the slider here that goes inside, and the wheels and the base of the wheels. Now you want to position them, I think it was 2 under the ground, so you want to make sure that everything is positioned. Now it's okay if you go just a little bit under, just to make sure your tires doesn't stay in the air, maybe something like that, right? Not gonna notice that in the sim. So once you position this, you see we have the pivot and the contact. Let's go. Let's select the pivot. We're gonna actually, that one has to pass this. That one, it's gonna be somewhere there. So we're gonna bring them there. I'm not gonna touch them yet, but that's where we're gonna do them now. I'm thinking if we should, you know what, yeah, let's go ahead and actually align these guys too. So we have the jetway in position, the whole thing. And there is a gap there. Okay, let's go to number 3 view. Is this aligned? Okay, let's see. Here we have a bigger gap than there. I mean, I'm not gonna stay here too long. Oh, but that's the jetway. That's not the head. Alright, maybe we can bring this just a little bit in. So again, you know, you're just gonna play around with this position, this part to the jetway. Alright, I think it's good. Gonna save it now. So the pivot here is actually gonna move. It's gonna have the rotation of the door. We're gonna come back to that. It depends what you want. You want, well, usually it's the door, right, that turns around. Is it the rotunda? No, I think it's the door turning around. So let's see how we're gonna do this. I was thinking I was thinking to join, actually to join this guy with this one. You know what, let's go just Control P as an object. I'm just gonna parent the rotunda with this guy. So now if I move empty2, it's gonna move with that rotunda. Okay, just parent that because I want the door to move with everything else, but we'll come back for that. Alright, so now we have that set. What we need now to do, you know what, hold on, this is the cover, right? Yeah, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna parent this one with the with the boarding part, ramp, Control P object, right? So everything is gonna be under the boarding ramp here. Let's expand this. Boarding ramp metal big 4. Right now they're all together. And move empty4 is gonna move with that too. Okay. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna select the sliding part here, and that will give me the X location here. That's how far is this from the world origin, right? 14.992 meters. I'm gonna copy that, Control copy, because next we're gonna add an empty, right? So I copy that value. Let's go click on empty2. Now be careful, we're not gonna duplicate this, we're gonna add another empty here. So make sure you don't duplicate it. Add, right? So that one, that was weird. Hold on. Okay, actually, sorry. Click on empty2. I just went back. Z, right? Shift S2. I'm gonna bring the cursor to that empty2. Right? Make sure you bring the cursor there. Now we're gonna add an empty. Right? We have the empty right there, and then we're gonna come here, and then we're gonna move it. Click on X, Control V, and we're gonna paste the value from this slider, and then enter. So like this, I know it's right in the middle of this, guys. See, it's aligned with my slider. Okay, so this one we're gonna call it slider top. Let's make sure the name appears. Okay, slider top right there. Now this slider top, I'm going to bring the XML. This is not going to move. So the value that I created, now again, this is the numbers that we wrote in the beginning was 5.764. So I'm gonna enter the same value here, 764. I don't know if it's gonna take that 4. not sure if it's gonna take 3 digits in the back. Well, let's see what happens. If he gives me an error there, I know we should come and erase the 4. I mean, F4 makes no difference, but anyway, slider top is gonna stay in one place. So the Y minimum is gonna be 5764 for me, 5764 on both. And you remember that that's the number, the height number that we calculate here, right? Which is 5764. So that's the number I'm setting up for slider top. My slider top went outside, so we're gonna bring it inside the Jetway collection. Right, slider top right there. Now the slider top, just give me a second, let me see if we should parent it now. We should, I think yes, we can parent it now. Slider top, so make sure you select the slider top first. And then we're gonna select the empty02. Now in my case it's empty02. Like I said, if you have, hold on, it didn't take it. Slider top, control empty2. If you have 3 empties, empty3, you connect to the last one, to the last before the pivot. So in my case I have pitch, empty1, empty2. Right? If you have 3 bridges, then you should have a pitch, empty1, 2, 3. So the slider top, you will connect it to the last one you have. In my case it's empty02. Okay, so select the slider top first, not the other way around. If you do the other way around, you're gonna erase the parent between 2 and the pivot. So the slider top first, then empty2. Control, select it here, Control P, object. Okay, let's go ahead and Control save now. Right, so I got the slider top here. Here we're gonna, let's bring the cursor, Shift S2. We're not gonna duplicate things here. We're gonna add them from now on. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add another empty here. Plain axle, right? That's the empty. Let's move it just slightly down, just about there. Okay, just to see it. So here's the trick here. Let's see how we're gonna do this. This one we're gonna call it ground empty. Ground empty. Okay. Just want to see something before I do. Just give me 1 second. So So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna select the ground empty, and then first, and then a slider top right here. So control slider top, and I'm gonna say control P without inverse. So what happened now, if I go to the ground empty, right, now the values are 0, but the ground empty is at 5764, right, because it's the same level with everything else. Now because the value is 0 here, I can just go in Z axle and say minus 5.764. So now if that's correct, we moved it to the 0, and it's exactly on the 0. So that's one way to do it. I think you could do it like add it there and then just hit 0. Maybe that would work, but it did for me this way, so I'm just gonna show you how it did it. Now let me bring the XML file. We got the slider top that we set 5.764, no lower than that, no higher than that. And then the ground empty, you see I put 7 minus 5 7. I'm gonna change that to 6764, and that's now it's gonna know where the ground is. And then the X to move minus 10 plus 20, it's gonna move left and right, so you need a little bit of room for the wheels to go in the front and in the back. I think minus 10 and 20, it's plenty of room. It's like we have like 30 meters. I don't think you need more than that. Okay, so now we set the ground empty values, and that's why this is 1764. Save. Now, like I said, if you just add 1 and bring it to 0, then these numbers for you should be 0. But if you ran into some problems that you might want to know that, I mean, I don't know if it makes any difference, but maybe it works. Just bring it down to 0 and put those numbers 0. Whatever the numbers for the ground empty, it shows you here. That's the value, and the Z, that's the value you're going to set in the XML file. Alright, let's go control save. Yeah, almost there. I don't want to rush it. Better do it good the first time. Now we need to add, I believe, 2 more. Okay, just give me 1 second. I just want to see. Okay, so let's set the cursor. The cursor is already at slider top. If not, just bring it there, and we're gonna add another empty. Add another empty, and this one we're gonna call it wheel underscore control CTRL underscore line orientation. Now this one, make sure you then from now on the next empties, make sure you name them the way I do, because those, you see, we have wheel orientation, wheel rotation, so basically that's where we are right now. Now we already have the bones, and this will be the bones, so you don't have to worry about that. But the wheels, we need to make sure we keep them the same name, otherwise it's not gonna recognize it. Okay, so that's what we're doing next right now. We skip the bones because we already have them, but we're going to the wheels. Okay, so just make sure. Now the empty, you can call it whatever, you know, the empty, but the objects, well, actually no, the empty is the one that, just name it the way I do it, you know, to make sure. Make sure that everything works fine. Okay, so we have the wheel control orientation. Okay, we're gonna bring it down here, somewhere around there. Okay, so that's the empty. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let's call boarding wheel orientation. You can leave it like that. Okay, so now we can make this part boarding wheel orientation, right? Not the wheels. You know what? First, let's do this. First, let me make sure that the wheels, they do spin correctly, rotating Y. See, they're not aligned correctly. I'm glad that I did this. Okay, so let's select the wheels and go to edit mode. I'm gonna go to this vertex and just select the middle part of the vertex there, of this part, and then hold shift, select that one. Let's bring the cursor there, shift S2, right? Let's go back to the object mode. You see it's a little bit off. Oops, let's see the cursor, it's a little bit off. So let's say right click, set origin to 3D cursor. Alright, so let's see now if I rotate this in Y. Okay, hold on, let's zoom out a little bit. Rotating Y, I think it's much better. Yes, see now it's moving much better. Okay. Now this is the time you position everything here to look good. Right, I can move this one down a little bit, and then this guy can go down just a little bit down here. I think that's good like this. Okay, let's go control save. Now I'm gonna bring this boarding wheel orientation and select that one first, and then we're gonna select you see, I'm thinking Did I miss something? Did we yes, so I forgot to assign to parent this. Now it's not the outside part, it's the slider inside, right? The slider, we are going to slider top, right? So we're gonna select the slider object, right? The boarding ramp wheels, that's how they call it. And then we're gonna parent it with the slider top. So we're gonna do it on the right side. Control, slider top, Control P as an object. So we parent that there. Okay. Now we're gonna parent the boarding wheel orientation. I just want to make sure it's in. If I rotate this in Z, okay, it does rotate smooth. So boarding wheels orientation, control, and then we're gonna parent with wheel control orientation. Let me see, where is the wheel control? Oh, right here. Okay. Gonna move the mouse to the left. Control P, object. All right. So wheel control orientation is gonna be, yeah, but it's already parented. Oh no, it's not. So wheel control orientation. I'm just trying to see. So the ground empty, it's connected to the slider top. It's parented to the slider top. Yeah, so we're gonna do wheel control orientation first. Shift ground empty. I'm gonna say Control P as a parent. There you go. Okay. And now we're gonna select the wheels, right? Make sure the cursor is there. If it's not, Shift S2, right? Cursor is right there in the middle. And then we're gonna add another empty. And this one, we're gonna call it wheel underscore line control CTRL. And then rotation. Okay, wheel control rotation. So we already have this one selected. We control rotation. I'm gonna select that one first, and then let's do it on this side. hold Control. I'm going to select Wheel Control Orientation. Okay, and then we're going to say Control P Object, and it should come under. Okay. So now the wheels, let's select the wheels, and boarding wheels, we're gonna make them parent to wheel control rotation. Right, so let's do it on the right side. Control. So first boarding wheels, second wheel control rotation, and then Control P Object. There you go. So now if I grab the slider top, this is how I test if this works, is good. If I move everything should move up and down. Okay, that's perfect. Control Z. Right, Control S. Save the project. So we are pretty much done here. The only thing we need to do is this part right here. Okay. Control save, just to make sure I saved everything. I do it so many times. Okay. So we have the door, and the hood, we call it kapot. We have the boarding pass, base, and the entrance. Now the boarding ramp and the base, we can just parent them. You can leave it there. I don't think it matters. Let's just leave it there. This is the part that we're gonna do. Okay, let me make sure, because this is the part where things can go very wrong. This is the part where it delayed me so much to do this, because I couldn't figure out a couple of things, and I want to make sure that this is as easy as possible. You see the hood here, you can see through. So let's go ahead, select that, and go to the textures, and we're gonna set that one double-sided. There you go. And maybe for the doors too. The doors should be, oh, the door is already, never mind. So yeah, just make sure the hood is double-sided. Okay, let's actually gonna go open this guys right here. I'm gonna select the pivot here, and then you want this to be kind of in the center, the pivot. Let's go to the object mode here, to the rotunda, and then we're pretty much gonna do the same thing. Select a couple of faces, select similar area, and that will give me the middle of the rotunda. So let's go ahead and say Shift S2, go back out to the object mode, set cursor to 3D. Okay, now I can say, where's the pivot? Right here. I'm gonna click on pivot, Shift S8 is gonna bring it to the middle of that rotunda. Does look like in the middle. Okay, maybe not that much. Look at that. It's a little bit off, but it's okay. Let's bring it. So I'm just looking at the empty. I click on the pivot because empty is connected to the pivot, right? And I kind of like, okay, looks like it's in the middle. So this one, we're actually gonna, let me see, I'm thinking, you know what, we'll do it in a little bit. So let's go ahead and actually bring the bones here now. Right, we're gonna move the bones to our project. And this is very delicate. So let's go to the pose mode. Gives me this. If I say, now hold on, because now I moved the pivot. Let me click on the, okay, let's go back to object mode. I'm gonna click on the pivot and say Shift S2. Make sure, yeah, the cursor is at the pivot. It didn't change a lot. I mean, I moved it just a little bit. That, I don't think that makes any difference. Now we're gonna select the bones, go to pose mode, select all the bones, and then we're gonna say Shift S8. Okay, that brought the bones to that location, but it's not. Let's see. Actually, it is aligned. Okay, let's go to object mode. Maybe we can move, instead of moving the bones, maybe we can move this part, just like that. The door and the hood, right? I think that's good. Okay, maybe move it to the right a little bit. Just slightly to the right. All right. Do we have the animation? We do. Okay. All right. So I think this is good the way it is. Let's go Control Save. Now, let's bring this guys here. I'm gonna bring the non-linear animation. And we can do that later. I'm gonna check this guys and see, you know, both bones are moving, animation is there, good. Okay, let's put this one back here. Right, so let's go to the pivot now. Once we have this in place, actually we're gonna move that one down to maybe about here. I mean, we're gonna have to test this. You can come back and change this. So with the pivot, we're gonna say what's the floor, where the floor is, and maybe some around there. let's go 1. Like I said, we can come back and test this. Okay, let's go to the contact, and the contact we're gonna move that to about there where the rubber part is. This is where it's gonna tell the Jetway how close to go to the airplane. Once it reaches this point, it's gonna stop. I don't want to be exactly on it. Usually there is a gap. Okay, it's pretty much that. Again, you know, we can come back and fix this if it's too off. Okay. Let's see. So this is very, very important. First, let's click on the bones. This location part has to be on 0. Now if I do this, apply all transforms, it made 0. So basically you see the cursor now went to the world origin. But I'll do it again, so I'm gonna do Shift S2. Shift S1. I'm gonna bring the cursor to the world origin. Anyway, it went there, but I'll do it again. I'm gonna click on the bones and do it just one more time. All transforms. So make sure the cursor, maybe it didn't make any difference, but just to make sure the cursor is at the world origin. Okay. Also, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually I wanna see how I do this. Alright, definitely the hood is gonna be, again, we're gonna do object apply all transforms. It's gonna go to world origin, and also the door here, object apply all transforms. Make sure that bones and these two are there. Now the door here, the entrance door, boarding entrance, I'm still not sure. Okay, let's do a control save. I think we can do this one as well, add all transforms, because we're actually gonna parent the door to the pivot, right? So I have the boarding entrance, and then I click on the pivot here, and then go Control P, object. Now if I move the pivot, it should move the door. Move Z, so you move the doors with me. Okay. Now one more thing, just want to make sure when you move the door like this, RZ, then it moves correctly. Okay, so that looks good here. Let's see on the other side. Okay, that's good. Alright, now what we're gonna do, so there's two ways. I can parent the bones as well to the pivot, right? Click on the parent, on the pivot, Control P, object, and then I can click on the capote, right, which is the hood, and click on the bones, Control P, First we need to parent them. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna click on the capote and then on the entrance, boarding entrance door. Okay, hold on. I'm just thinking, so the bones animated, I mean they're parented to the pivot. Actually we can all assign them to the pivot. So the door is parent, this one, the capote, let's do all to the pivot, right? Capote to the pivot, Control P, object, and then the door to the pivot, and then say Control P, object. Okay, so everything is under pivot. Now I'm gonna click on the capote, hold shift, click on the bones, and I'm gonna say Control P, and then we're gonna say with empty groups, and that's probably okay. Control Z, let's go Control Z. So maybe okay, I'm gonna click on the bones. So let's see if this is gonna fix the problem. Go to pose mode, make sure all the bones are selected, hit A, and then we're gonna say pose, apply pose as a rest pose. Okay, let's go back to object mode. So now hood, bones, Control P with empty groups, there you go, and then door, bones, Control P with empty groups. All right, well, let's see. Look at that, nice and smooth. Now if yours, now I want to point something else here. The reason I select, okay, now I'm not 100% sure about this, but the reason I select with empty group, first of all, it creates the groups, the vertex groups automatically. Like what that means, it's all these names, all these bones, the names for all these bones. When you do that, it creates vertex groups. Otherwise you have to do it manually. So if I go to the, okay, let's click on a hood. If I go to this icon, you see them right here. Now before I didn't show it, but we didn't have this. And because I kept the original, I mean the Asobo's bones, I just did that. I just went Control P with empty groups, and everything is assigned. Now if you have your, let's say you bring your own hood, I just want to be very clear. And that's where I had the issue, I had the problem, because I'm very bad with painting, weight painting. So yours might look very off, or it's gonna break the hood and it's not gonna look good. But you need to do the weight painting, and because I just try to keep this one as easy as possible, that's why I did it this way. Now if you have your own hood and you know to weight paint, then I believe you will select with automating weights instead of empty groups. Maybe you should select with empty groups first, and then so it generates the vertex for you, and then go back and select with automatic weights. Maybe when you select automatic weight, it does add your vertex groups. Maybe I'm not 100% sure. I haven't tried, so but this is with the default, and that's why we did it this way. So right now I have the hood, and I know it's not perfect, It's not perfect, the one that Asobo did, but at least you know you have something, because this is the very delicate part of the Jetways. Okay, we're not done yet. One more thing, we need to create the animation for the wheels, which I forgot. So we're missing that animation, so we're gonna do it now. Okay, so we're done with that. We're done with that. Now if you want to keep everything under SOL, I will just you know, just select this base and then SOL, Control P parent, and then the boarding one with SOL, Control P parent, and now everything is under SOL. I don't think you have to do that, but just to keep it organized. All right, let's do the wheel animation. So I'm just double checking here, just give me a second. So we're gonna start with, let's say, with the wheel control rotation. Right, so first let's go to dub sheet. Now first we're gonna go to the timeline, and we're gonna select 1 to 50. Right, starts at 1, ends at 50. Okay. What we're gonna do, we're gonna create a frame. So we're gonna select wheel control rotation. Wheel control rotation, make sure you select the empty, right? Wheel control rotation. And bring your mouse on the screen, and then we're just gonna say, we're gonna hit I, and then we're gonna choose rotation. So now, okay, hold on. Let's go back to the dub sheet and action editor. So now it created on a keyframe. So now we're gonna move the, oh, hold on. This is the wheel control rotation. Okay, wheel control rotation. Okay, so now we're gonna move this to 50. Right, let's bring this guy here. So what we're gonna do, the rotation in Y, right, in Y, a full circle will be 360. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna say 359. Okay, let's bring the mouse down here and hit I again, and then rotation. So now if I move the slider, now the wheels are rotating. Okay, also we're gonna come here and right click, make sure the two keyframes are selected. If not, you can just click on one, hold shift, click on the other one, make sure they're both selected, right click, interpolation mode, linear. That's very important. Now this one you can call it whatever you want. I do keep them, you know, the same. So wheel control rotation. That's what I'm gonna name it. And then now we're gonna hit push down. Okay. Now we're gonna do really quick. We're gonna do the other one, which is the wheel control orientation. Nope, not you. Hold on, that's not the one. Or maybe, yeah, but then it's gonna move. Hold on. No, never mind. Okay, so now wheel control orientation. The frames here, actually we're gonna set them. Let's go back to the timeline, and we're gonna say 1 to 100. The frames, the length of the animation will decide how fast the wheels will turn, so okay, let's go back to the AppSheet action editor. So we're gonna go to frame 1, make sure the wheel control orientation it's selected. So we're gonna click rotate in Z, and you can type 90, enter. Right, so now the wheels rotated like that. So you can do it with the keyboard, or you can just come here, make sure the wheel orientation is selected, and just type it in here 90 degrees. Right, okay, we're gonna bring the mouse here, hit Y, and then again rotation. Now we're gonna bring the, okay, something didn't, for some reason did I move it down? Yes, I did. Sorry. So I didn't see the keyframe, and because I was scrolled down, so I holding shift, and with the mouse wheel you can go up and down here. Okay, so never mind. I'm gonna go to 100, and now I'll do it manually. I'm gonna come to Z and say -90, enter. So now I'm gonna hit I, again rotation. Okay, I'm gonna come here and say interpolation mode linear. Let's name this guy, I'm gonna delete that action, I don't like that, and then push it down. Oh, let's see if the animation works. There you go. See, the wheels are turning and the base is turning. Okay, let's go push down. Alright, almost done. Okay, let's go to non-linear animation, and now we should have wheel control orientation and wheel control rotation. Okay, let's bring the XML file here. So as you can see, we have the wheel orientation and wheel rotation. So that's what we have to name now. The NLA track here. Wheel, see here it says wheel control orientation. We're just gonna call this one wheel orientation. Because that's how it is in a XML. Wheel orientation. Actually, I can just copy this one. Control copy. Wheel rotation. Now the other one, we're gonna call it, right, the rotation, NLA track V. Wheel rotation. Okay, enter. All right. Well, let's see what we did. Control save. You know, the wheels look off. Don't worry about it because they're in a 0 position here. If you move into 50, they're gonna stay straight. But it's okay. That's how it should look. All right. Let's see what we did. Control S. So now, here we're gonna do. I'm gonna go on the left. Actually, select all. Right. Everything is selected. File, export. Now, here's what I noticed. I don't know if it's my system or this is the way it is. If I only export it from here, from the right side, and if I want to add, let's say I want to add later some lights here to light the face of it, or add some extra lights to the Jetways, they will not be they will not generate the sim will not generate the light. But if I do it this way, file, export, GLTF2, right? It's our place. Okay, I'm gonna set this, GLTF being textures. I'm gonna do the same thing here, /forward texture /forward. Copyright, no. This remember. I just want to remember this. Custom punctual lights. Let's see, geometry apply, modifiers. Okay, we'll leave it like that, and then I'll say export, and then I'll come to the right and do it from here as well, so it reads the LOD. Not necessary right now, but I just want to make sure that it is. Again, make sure that this is not selected now, the XML. You don't want that. Okay, export, and now I'm gonna control save, so make sure that it saved this, and now we can go and add them to the simulator, to our project, and see how it works. So if the package source is sim objects, landmarks, Jetways. Now here's the thing, if you don't have an asset group already set for this Jetway, it will not work to generate them from here, just to drag the XML file to the package store. You need to go inside and set an asset group for this Jetways, but I'll show you when we get there how you do that. What I want to do is come back here and delete this Jetway text, XML file from Asobo. Let's go back into the XML just one more time to make sure that everything is correct. Okay, so we have the animation, the behaviors. We set these numbers. What we did the IK constraints. All right, so it should work. Okay, everything is here. Let's see this one. I'm gonna try it again. Okay, XML Jetway. Okay, it's gonna read the XML. Let's go to textures. Textures are in here, and this one, XXX Jetway, perfect. Okay, now I do have an asset group here, so I'm gonna do it from here. But I'll show you what you need to do. So here's our state. If you don't have an asset group, you click on the top one, you go on the bottom, add an asset group, and then you go custom, next, and then you put the name, right? I put XSA Jetways, right? Then you select as a sim object and then create, right? Put the name here. I already have one, so it's not gonna work, but right, that's why you do it. And then you create one and you're gonna see it here. I'm gonna cancel this. Now once you're there, when you create that one, what's gonna happen, you're gonna have to go to asset directory and then go to sim objects, landmarks, Jetway, delete the airplane folder, and then here on the output directory it's gonna say airplane, change that one to landmarks, and make sure you hit enter, and then you're good to go. Alright, so let me bring batteries. As I said, I already have a Jetway here. Right, there you go. That's our Jetway. Okay, well, let's see. Does it work?
Ground Delta Tree 20. Could you please connect the Jetway to the aircraft?
Delta Tree 20, we can't connect the Jetway to the aircraft. Please retry later.
I know what's the problem. The problem is rotation base. One name, you mess it up, the entire Jetway is not gonna work. You see, I typed rotation base, but it should be with underscore line. That's the difference. The rotation base inside the XML was written with underscore line. So it's either go to the XML and erase that underscore line, or go inside this your project, Blender, and change the name there. Either way, we still have to go to build the project again, so it cannot go wrong either way. Now I could edit the video, but I left it there for you to see that just an underscore line can make the difference. Okay, so let's see, was that the reason? Alright, let's go to ATC, ground services, Jetway.
Ground Delta Tree 20. Could you please connect the Jetway to the aircraft?
There we go.
Delta Tree 20, the Jetway is going to be connected.
Oops. Now we got another issue here. That's funny. Okay, we also have to... Okay, so we also have to... I think I know what I did wrong. So we have to lower a little bit the pivot there. So this is how we do the test. You see where the door is. So we're gonna lower the pivots. How about the contact? I think the contact is good, right? It looks good. It's a little bit inside, so maybe we're gonna move that one. ahead. So okay, so this is how we test it. Now here's the thing. I think let me see. Yeah, see, I didn't check this. My mistake here. What I did, I forgot to send back. You don't have to do anything. It's mine. I was trying to see, what's going on. So actually, I'm gonna move this. I parent them a different way. Now I'm gonna parent that to the pivot. So I parent them in a different way. But yours, it's actually like this. I just unparent the hood, trying to troubleshoot the problem, and then when I realized that actually is the name and the underscore line, I forgot to undo this. Yours should be fine. Now with the pivot, we're gonna unparent the bones first, then go grab the pivot, and actually we have to move it to be just above the floor, just about there, as close as possible, and then you can move it. Basically this is very delicate, so delicate stuff, so you have to move it just a little bit. And then the contact, let's see, so this one, it just looks okay here. See, I did it just to see the line, those dotted lines, to see them about the floor. And then let's see the contact. Yeah, we're gonna move that one back somewhere around there. It's just, yep, something like that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and apply a rotation and scale for the pivot, and same thing for the contact. And now we're gonna go click on the bones, hold control, select pivot, control P as an object. So now the animation moves, and let's select all, save, export from the left side, and then export from the right side, and let's see how it looks.
Delta Tree 20, the Jetway, is going to be
Alright,
connected.
let's see how it looks. I think the height is good. Yep, let's see the contact. It's good as well. It's a little bit lower than the aircraft, but you don't want to be that precise. Now, since we're in here, I just want to explain to you something here. That's the next step will be adding different textures to the Jetways. Let me lock this view. So adding different textures to the Jetways. So I'm gonna move this, show you. Since we're here, I'm gonna bring the there is a folder layout that we need to do. I already added some textures here. So right now I don't have a banner, but we're gonna add a banner and then a number, right, to the Jetway. But since we're in the simulator, I'm just gonna explain to you right now, and then then we're gonna go inside and do it. So that's my Detroit folder with the textures. Let me copy this one. Notice I have a logo texture and a delta and a number here, right? So what happens in the main folder, now I'm gonna go back to our folder. in the main folder we have the main textures, right, that it's generating for our model, right? Now I just added this delta. So if, let's say, and I want to move this on the side, if let's say all your Jetways have let's say in this case delta logo like they do for Detroit, I gotta move this. So if all the Jetways, I didn't even take this, there you go, have, let's say, delta logo on it, then you will add the textures to the main folder. You see all these Jetways, all of them, they have delta logo, all of them, on this terminal, even on the annex here, they all have delta. So you add that texture in the main folder, because it's no point for the sim to look for this texture somewhere else. Now, how do you add a different texture to different gates? Now I'm gonna show you different gates here. We have delta, D1, D12 and D29. Inside I have D1, that's gonna be the number, and this is the logo, right? You see here delta on the left side. Hold on, let me move the view. So this textures, they have the delta. So now I'm gonna use the same model, but it's gonna generate united texture instead of delta. So if I don't add a texture, it's gonna add the delta because I put it in a main folder, right? And then D12 is gonna have a Spirit, and then D29 is gonna have American Airlines textures. And the way you do it, you add a texture, another folder, and you call it texture dot. D1 will be the gate number, and that's why I keep it like that. And then again, texture dot D12, I name them like the gate number, and then texture dot D29. So now if I go to this terminal, now the Jetways here, they're blue, so that means I have a different model that I add. I mean, it's just the same, I just changed the color. Now here you see I have, I have this is the Detroit logo. So based on the users, they told me that all the Jetways at this terminal, if there's no airliner Jetway, they will have this logo. So what I did, remember I had this logo texture in that, so I put that logo. So whatever the gates that I don't add, it's gonna generate this logo. And then this ones, they have united, right? Now the numbers, if you check the numbers, they're all different, right? So those are the numbers. So these gates, they have united, right? Then we go forward, then it's still united, then go back to the default, and then these gates, they're Spirit, and then default, and then these guys are Southwest, and then default, and then we end up with American Airlines on this this part of the terminal. Okay, so let's see how we do that. So basically we work inside your folder, your package sourcer folder. We need to do this everything in here. We don't do it in SDK. Now for the adding the textures, so I want to be clear. Now here we're back to Blender, right? So let's say, okay, I'm gonna create really fast on a mesh here, a plain mesh. Okay, let's move it this way, rotate in X 90 degrees, let's move it up. So I'm gonna do very fast a banner. Now obviously you design the banner the way you want, right? Let's make it this big. Right, hold on. So let's go object mode, extrude face. I'm gonna make it like that, right, to look like a banner. I'm gonna delete that face in the back, okay? And then we position this one to our jetway, something like that, right? Okay, now that's our banner. And then what I can do, I can say shift, I'm still, no, am I? No, I'm in object mode. Well, there's two ways to do it. I can go in edit mode. Well, let's do on the object mode. Let's go shift duplicate. Okay, I'm gonna move it on the other side. Rotate Z 180, right? So I'm gonna add this one here and there somewhere, and I'm just gonna join them. Control J, right? So now we have, let's say, logo. Okay, so now logo is selected, and then I'm gonna select, hold shift, select this jetway, bridge, and say Control P object. So I'm gonna object that to make sure the logo sticks to that when the jetway moves. Okay, now I'm gonna go back, select the logo. Let's select the faces here. Actually, just one. We will have to do both of them. And now we're gonna assign a texture to it. So here's what we're gonna name it. Well, here you can just name it logo. It really doesn't matter. Okay, assign, and then let's go standard, and let's make this one bigger. I'm gonna go to the texture, to the main folder, and I'm gonna pick up the logo. Now this one, the name of this one, it's logo delta. Okay, it looks like the normals are flipped. So what I can do, let's select all, mesh, normals, recalculate outside. There you go. So now we have the delta logo right here. Okay, so you have to assign this in Blender from your main folder, so you have to have at least one texture in there with this, right? So I mean, you can even assign this as emission. So now in the night it's gonna light up, right? So let's say you want to have just a little bit, right? You don't want to go too bright. Okay, so now we have the logo there. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. Let's control save. I'm gonna add another mesh, a plain one. Let's bring it up here, right? That's gonna be the number, the jetway number. So let's rotate it in 190. There you go. Scale it like that. Scale it in Y, make it a little bit wider, and scale it just a small one. Now I'm not gonna go too crazy about it. I'm just gonna attach it here. Okay, let's bring it in place. Hit 1. Just for this tutorial, I'm just gonna add it there, right? And let's make it pretty. Oops, not you. Sorry. I'm clicking on the wrong buttons. Extrude this way, and then let's go Control Shift S, bring the cursor there, extrude, and then scale in Y. Okay, maybe scale it bigger. Okay, scale it in Z. Why is that? I mean, I messed up something. I was in a rush. Okay, let's bring this up a little bit. There you go, something like that. Okay, and then we can just extrude this part and go inside. Select all. Right, we're gonna attach a texture. Let's see, one that we have. Material, perfect. Assign. And then we're gonna click on that, and then here we're gonna say, let's say, a new material, and we're gonna call this one logo. Not logo, sorry, stand. Stand. Assign. Now we can go here, standard. And actually I forgot to, I'm gonna just bring a number here because I don't have a number. A19, it's good enough. Let's say copy and texture, so let's paste one. So you have to have one main. Now the numbers is the number, you just add the one number and then the rest of them you add them separately, but you have to have one logo texture in the main folder and one stand texture in the main folder. Okay, alright, so let's go ahead here, base color, back, texture, into the main folder. I'm gonna select the stand, and maybe this is not, actually maybe, okay, let's see, select all, mesh, normals, recalculate outside, there you go. So here, we're gonna, for this one we have to go to the UV editor, let's select it, and then we're gonna say rotate 90, alright, scale, somewhere around there, and then scale in X. There you go, so now we have the Jetway number, and we can add the emission to the stand. Okay, let's exit object mode, select that one, then select the door here, Control P, make sure you parent them, so make sure it moves with the door. Now what I didn't do here because it looks good, but make sure you do the unwrap faces. I'm gonna do the smart UV just to make it bigger, just to make sure that it looks correct, you know. Well, rotate 90, there you go. So it's important that you do that and make sure everything looks good. So we're gonna do rotate 180, there you go. You unwrap them to make sure it looks good, and also, so now we can just, oops, let's go to object mode, select all, and we're gonna export again our model, and on the right side, and save. Okay, now inside the folder, now that we have the main textures, we have this, we have the main texture for the logo and for the stand. Now we want, let's say, let's call it this delta 1, delta 12, delta 29, the gates, right? So you want the delta 1 textures to show you united, and obviously delta 1 texture for the gate number, right? Now I don't know if you paid attention, I didn't mention it, but look at the name of the logo. So here KDW, you know what, let's do it much simple. So I'm gonna rename this one actually logo. No, Control Z, because we already attach it. So we're gonna keep basically what I'm trying to say. I'm all over the place. This name right here, we're gonna say rename, Control copy. The name for the logo and for the stand has to be the same. So if the name in here in the main texture, it is, in my case, KDTW Jetway logo delta PNG, in order to generate another texture, let's say United texture, I'm gonna rename this one Control V, and it's the same way, the same name. Otherwise it's not gonna work. And that's all for all the texture, all the folders that you have, even Spirit here, rename V. So I just copy the name. So make sure that all this, they have the same name. And then also for the stand, so we're gonna say copy, no, rename, Control copy. I think this one has the same name. So Jetway stand, let's see, texture D1 Jetway stand. So this one, they do have the same name. So if I go everywhere, it's the same name to all these textures. And plus, make sure the files, they have the same measurements, the same size. So if you add the texture main texture, let's say properties, if my main texture is 1080 by 1080, all of them has to be 1080 by 1080. You can't, so usually I did it smaller, I did 512 by 512. I think you can go 256, but I just left the 512. Right, 256 by 256, you can do that, but make sure they all have the same measurements. Now also, you notice there is a texture CFG in every single texture folder, and that's important. So now I'm gonna open one. We need to add the text in there, and you can copy from the description of this video, and that's how it's gonna be in there. Or you can just create a open a I use the what do you call this software? Notepad++, sorry, I lost my words. So it's gonna be fallback.1 equal ... /for textures, and then make sure that flight sim, it's in there too. So every single, it's the same text, on every single texture one, the same one. And then we're gonna open the sim.sfg again with Notepad++. I use Notepad++, right? And this is very important. In order for this to work, we need to modify this, right? So flight sim.0 stays there. Now this is the part that we're gonna copy, the first one. So the Control copy. Now I'm gonna hit enter. I'll do it twice just to leave a space between them. It's much easier to read them. So we have the main texture, right? This is gonna be the title, XXX Jetways. It's gonna be, this is how the sim knows where to text the textures. This is the main textures. Everything else that we add, it's the folder. So we have 3 folders here. We're gonna add 3 more lines here. Control V, right? Okay, hold on. Let's scratch this. So we're gonna copy with flight sim 0. Copy. Right? So together with flight sim 0. V. So we have 3 more folders. 1, 2, 1, 2, and that. Okay. Now we have to modify. You cannot have, just make sure the title for each one has to be different. It cannot be the same with the next one. So this is my main XXXX Jetway. The next one I'm gonna say XXX Jetway, and then I can do D1 because that's the gate I want to produce. So now it's a different name. Next one, D12. D12. Oops. I don't think it matters. As long as it matters if it's the same or not. As long as it's a different name, right? And this one will be D29. Okay. Now also the flight sim.0. That one you leave it 0. That's your main. That one it's gonna be 1, and it has to be in order. You can't skip a number. So if 0, 1, 2, and then 3, it has to be in order, otherwise it's not gonna read it. Now these are the models, right? This is the main. Now the textures, this is where we're gonna set. I want delta 1, right, Jetway, to generate the texture from D1. So we're gonna enter here D1. Now here it does matter if it's capital or not, because it's reading the after the dot, right? So D1, then the next Jetway I want the textures from D12, and then next Jetway I want the textures from D29. Okay, and that's it. Now I had to do it for Detroit for 127 gates, so you can imagine that. So and that's how you can use the same model, you don't have to create another model with different textures. So let's save this, right? So the reason I want to do this, because we're gonna exit the sim, and then I'm gonna, now once you're done with this one, obviously we have to run the package again. So everything was done inside the package sources. So I just want to be clear, inside the package landmarks, inside your whatever Jetway. This is where this is where we have the model, and then everything. Now this one stays the same, and then we have the Sundai, and then textures, main textures, and then texture D1, D12, D29. Okay, and then we just, oops, sorry, and then we just modify this CFG file. After building the project again, let's go outside and see how it looks. As you can see, delta on all 3 of them, and then right now all 3 they're gonna have alpha 19, and the number of the gate alpha 19, but they all 3 have the delta because it's generating, right, the texture from the main folder. Now I was thinking the same thing when I did this the first time, did it with those blue Jetways. I'm like, okay, I can still do it. I can still not see in my Jetways. So we need to go inside the editor, the SDK. Let me make sure I open the correct one, because I'll show you what it actually does. In SDK, it's gonna show you all the Jetways separately, because otherwise how is gonna know which Jetway to generate, which logo and exactly which one. So you have to position that Jetway whatever it needs to be. So I'm gonna show you right now. I'm just gonna open So obviously once you're done adding the Jetways, right, I'm gonna go to the scene, load. Okay, I'm gonna again lock this lines here so it doesn't give me errors. Anyway, it's still loading. Okay, it's still loading. There you go. So now we have the Jetways there, right? Actually, I'm gonna uncheck the airport so I can check the. Now this one, right? Let's say we'll leave it Delta 19 with Delta logo, but for this one, I'm gonna delete this one and say, let's go to the gate. So again, I'm gonna bring the screens because you don't see it. It's on my secondary monitor. So now it's gonna say, we're gonna say add another sim object. Now I'm gonna search for my package. Oops, I just closed it, sorry. KDTW Detroit. Okay, nothing works today. Okay, let's see. Can I? Thank you. And then these are my regular, you know, for the other airports. I'm looking for XXX. So you see how they show up. XXX Jetway, first one, D1, D12, D29. So now I'm just gonna select D1, edit, and there you go. So now if I turn this one in position, like that, whatever, and now it's gonna have D1, the number of the gate, and then United logo. And obviously for this one we're gonna do the same. Erase this one, delete that one, and let's add. I'm not gonna bring that screen again. I'm just gonna go and add, let's say, D29. Oh. And then this one, if I turn this one like this and position there. Now this one, it's D29, and we have American Airlines. So there you go. So basically the same method you can do for any sim object, the same structure, everything. And then now we can just go ahead and save this, and then you run again, you build the package. Once you're done with all adding all those Jetways, then you build the package again. I'm not gonna do it now because I want to show you something else. So actually we're gonna probably stay. I'm gonna stay. I'm just gonna minimize this. So what I want to show you is how do you do when you see, like in my case, I had blue Jetways. So I create a model with blue Jetways. They all look blue, and then everything else it's white on this side. Some of them, and then I have. So basically, I did 3 models because I have one that I just changed the color from blue to white. I just changed the textures, but I had to do a different model. So I have a long one like this, and then I also have a white one, but it's shorter. So basically with 3 models I cover the entire Detroit airport. And if I bring the, I'm not gonna do it, I'm just gonna show you how you do it. So I'm gonna bring package sources, sim objects. I'm gonna bring the Jetways. See, this is all the folders, like I said, 127. And then you see here I have the main model, right, which takes the textures from here, from the main texture folder. Also, when you create a different model, which you can see here, you would say model.wl, it's white long and white short. So these are different models. Now you see what I did. I basically opened my project in Blender and saved, right, changed the textures, and I saved another Blender file just in here, and I call it WL, because obviously it cannot be the same name. This is the main Jetway. Now this one, even the Blender, so you have to save like you add any other object, and you have an XML. Also inside the XML, make sure you put the animation for every single model, so it's exactly like you do with the main model, right? And then I did it. This is a shorter version, again with everything in here like you do it from the main model. Now all these three models, just want to be clear, all these three models, they have the textures in the main texture folder. That's where you have to have all these textures for all the three models. Whatever models, how many models you add, they're all gonna have the textures to the main folder. And that's why you see this is Detroit logo, you know, because I did the blue, the blue Jetways, but the white Jetways I had to rename. I couldn't keep the same logo, so I just put logo/delta, and I put it in here. But this, you know, you can see I have one, you know, jet logo and the stand. Now for all three models, let's say you don't have this delta, right? You only have this one. You will have to assign the textures on your new model, and then you create the folder and say you basically don't take this one, you take it from the texture, but make sure you assign, or all the models that you add, you assign the same Jetway logo and stand from the main texture, and then you create these textures, right? Now this is the models, right? The structure for the folders, and then these are all the textures, right? Again, all the textures, they need a file in there, this CFG file. You see this one, I only need it to generate the stand. The logo, it's the same. This one, again, just the stand. If I go this one, stand, am I gonna click on? Okay, so this is, never mind. Of course, these are all stands. So, because this is all delta. Now, if I go to D gates, now this ones, they have United. See, now I put the logo in there. If you don't have a logo, or the logo stays the same, then you just add the stand. Okay. Now let's go back to the sim.sfg. Now this one is gonna be a long one, but I just want to show you what you do when you have a different model. So if your main model, if you want everything to generate from main model, you don't enter anything in here where it says model, right? Nothing. So this is my main blue. These are my blue. This is all blue Jetways, right? Now I want to see, I'm gonna scroll down to see, and I want to show you. Now let's go down. Okay, so there you go. Now if I want to generate, right, this, I'm gonna bring the text folder here so you can see, right? For those guys that I want a different model, I just put obviously after the dot whatever name you give. So this one, it's gonna generate the model from the model.wl folder, and I added there, plus the textures from A1 folder. This one is going to generate the WS, which is the shorter version, the third model that I have. If I don't enter anything, it's going to generate my main model. Okay, so and then every single one, like I said, you see they go 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. You know, flight sim dot whatever number is, it has to be in order, and the name, it has to be different. So usually I just put the gate name. That's how you do it for all the sim objects. You can play around with this. You can have one object and then change the textures, and it's gonna show like you have 10 different objects in there. Thanks for watching. I hope it helps. Happy flying.